and welcome to this episode of Season 6, the first episode of Season 6 of the Dr. Tech Show. We're delighted to be back with you after an extended summer break, where myself, Pauline Roche, and Sweyn Hunter, and often guests we have today, Paul Clayton, a returning and very welcome guest, talk about digital topics, including the world of online communications and digital inclusion, in a show which was the brainchild of digital storyteller, the late John Popham. So let's do what we usually do and ask how the weather is. Paul, you first. How has the weather been this week where you are?
Weather, it's a bit grey. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And Swain?
In Orkney, it is. Oh, I look out the window and the sky is blue. I looked out the window ready to say what the weather was like, and it was all grey and raining. So it's everything today and a bit breezy.
Okay. Well, here in County Clare, on the west coast of Ireland, it is, yeah, cloudy, white clouds. But yeah, I'll probably have another season later in the day, certainly in the week, and yeah, lots of variety here. So, apologies to anybody who was expecting us to return in September. There was a variety of reasons why we didn't: holidays, traveling, etc., of which you'll hear more later on. But we're very glad to be back here in the beginning of November with the Dr. Tech Show, and we look forward to bringing you the same combination of stories and news about online communications and digital inclusion because it's still a thing. It still affects so many people. We have some data on that later in the show to remind people, and we certainly have a conversation with that about Paul Clayton, who's at the kind of cold face of all of this all year round. So we look forward to hearing that. But first of all, we'll go into some dates and then some events. Swain, do you want to lead off with the dates?
Sure. Now then, my muscle memory to operate this show is only gradually coming back after our 3 month break. But here we go.
Mm-hmm.
The first date is something called Trustee Week, which I think you've picked, Pauline.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a time for us to come together to celebrate the achievements of nearly 1 million trustees across the UK. Throughout the week, you'll have the chance to connect with other trustees, to share your experiences, or to find out how to become a trustee. And you'll also be able to develop your skills through a wide range of events, training, and guidance. And that week runs from today, Monday the 3rd, to Friday the 7th. And there's a link there to all the information about how to get involved with that. And secondly, something, as they might say, and now, as they might say, for something completely different, I've picked out World Tsunami Awareness Day just because I liked the look of it. No other reason than that. And also, I suppose, because since the disastrous, awful tsunami of Boxing Day 2000 and can't remember, uh, the amount of kind of digital stuff that's been applied to detecting and protecting
Mm.
from tsunamis has been enormous. So it does have that sort of tenuous link to the show. And the World Tsunami Awareness Day is a UN observance day. We often choose those. And it shines a spotlight on building resilient communities through the Tsunami Ready program, which is a global effort to turn awareness into action. And this year, the campaign champions proactive preparedness, uniting governments, scientists, local leaders, and the public to reduce tsunami risks together. There's a whole lot of other screed of stuff that I was going to read about this, but I think it's maybe a bit long for now. If you're more interested in that, then there are more details at the link, which will be in the description.
Excellent.
And that's the dates.
Thanks very much, Swain. That was really important. And of course, we send our love and support and whatever we can do to the people experiencing the hurricane in
Hmm.
um, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and Jamaica. And I'm sure we all have friends and family there, and we
Yeah.
hope they're not too affected by that and that they remain safe and alive, which is the main thing. And there are you'll find links elsewhere on the net to send help to that region if you wish to do that. Events. Again, Trustee Week is linked to the Festival of Trusteeship, which is run by Eastside Projects this year. I think it's a new home for them. Eastside People, sorry, and Again, as Sweyn has said, it's a week-long series of events full of exciting opportunities for anyone who wants to become a trustee, for committed trustees who want to keep learning and developing, and for charity leaders who want to understand best practice in trustee recruitment and inclusive governance. And this festival will deliver a mix of informative and practical webinars and workshops and lively panel discussions relating to good charity board governance with a focus on diversity and inclusion. And as a special incentive, all sessions for aspiring trustees are free. They're not all the sessions are free, but if you're interested in becoming a trustee, you can attend for free. So that sounds like a great bargain there. And one of the sessions features yours truly. So I had to mention that one. It's
Is this a
called Trust.
declaration of interest or a plug
Yeah, probably
or
well,
both?
bit of both. Yeah, I'm not getting paid for it, so probably just a
Oh.
yeah, declaration, whatever. Anyway, on Wednesday, the 5th of November, from 4:30 to 5:30, I'm in a panel called Trusteeship Transformed, Bold Ideas from the Front Line. And we've given the link to the Eventbrite page so you can book on straight away. And it's billed as sector changemakers pitching their ideas to reimagine boards. Expect provocation, inspiration, and a few surprises. So I'm looking forward to what the surprises are. This session is going to be chaired by Festival Director Penny Wilson, with pitches from changemakers, and there's 10 of us, so I'll read them out. But yeah, please bear with me. Helen Timbrell, Kemi Olafare, Olivia Barker White, Susie Farthing, myself, Tanya Mason of Civil Society Media, Audrey Roy, Deepa Mystery, Joe Saxton of NFP Research, Hannah Kautsoon, and Rebecca Broad. So if you've got nothing else to do on Wednesday between 4:30 and 5:30, please do come along to that. I'm going to be talking about, no surprises, or spoiler alert maybe, social media and how trustees should be using their social media to big up their charity, etc. So not always a popular view, but I think it's a very positive one I definitely encourage. And then
Just a
one of
quick question about that, Pauline.
yeah,
Is that is trusteeship the same in England and Wales as is in Scotland and Northern Ireland, or not?
very good question. I'm not sure if any of the speakers come from outside of England even.
I guess that
So
people who are trying to become trustees probably know the answer to that question, even if
yeah,
we don't. So yeah,
yeah,
it's just always a thing to look out for is
yeah,
differences in jurisdictions around the UK.
absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Thanks for that. And then one I picked up for the end of the month, and it's a bit far away, but it's just linked in with our theme. So it's an event run by 100% Digital Leads called Demystifying Devices for Digital Inclusion. And again, we've got the Eventbrite link there, and they bill it as build your confidence in buying the right devices for your digital inclusion project, ensuring value for money and maximum impact. In this online meeting, 100% Digital Leads and Circular IT specialists Reconome, I think that's how it's pronounced, will share their knowledge and expertise to help you confidently purchase the right devices for your digital inclusion project, ensuring value for money and maximum social impact. Reconome, sorry, let me get down to the right section again. Reconome play a key role in supporting the access to devices for digitally excluded people, directly addressing the digital divide. This is just quoting from the Eventbrite page, no promotion on our part. They are a accredited tech partner for Good Things Foundation, powering the National Device Bank, and have previously partnered with Hubbub on their community calling program. So the event will cover smartphones, sorry, tablets, laptops, and Chromebooks, understanding the key features so you can choose the right devices for the most impact, making sense of device specifications, understanding key terminology, and unpicking the jargon, balancing functionality with value for money, understanding minimum specifications for device safety, considering accessibility and connectivity, the pros and cons of buying new equipment versus buying reconditioned, and avoiding common pitfalls and false economy. And one of the reasons I picked this out, as well as the title, is that when I was working on a digital literacy project previously, the devices had been bought before I joined the project, and I felt they were vastly overspec'd, and I felt we could have bought, 10 or 20 more devices for that would have got out to more people, that didn't need as much memory and stuff like that. So anyway, I think that's a great idea for that very practical session to
It's
be running.
great.
So
Yes.
yeah, well done with that. And so we come to our special guest for today, Paul Clayton, who is known to people you've watched the show before, but if you haven't, Paul is the founder of Comfortably Digital CIC and a freelance trainer for Soulship Communications. He's worked as a teacher and trainer since 2003 and has developed his skills. When somebody has confidence in his abilities to do something different, like a lot of us, I started working with computers, he says, when a community arts officer wanted me to be an editor for an online community arts magazine in 1995 while I was a mobile phone salesman. I'd love to hear stories about that sometime. I'm really interested as to how technology can help and hinder, inspire and impede. My work as a freelance trainer is supporting people to navigate devices and services with a focus on independence, accessing support networks, and awareness of the issues that digital initiatives in society raise. Paul, you're very welcome back to the show. Thanks for joining us again.
Thanks for having me, Sweyn, Pauline. Thanks.
How are things with you?
Whenever you say I'm a special guest, I always wonder who else it is instead of me.
You're
I
very
think that's a reflection on me.
Yeah, it is. You're very special to us. We really appreciate your input because you are doing the do out
All
there.
our guests are special, Paul. All of them.
Absolutely, but
I know.
especially you. So how have you been and what's been happening with the world of digital that you're involved in?
Well, I was chatting with Sweyn earlier about, I've jumped into the world of education to try and get what they call a PCE, Professional Certificate of Education.
Mm,
It's to consolidate my teaching,
mm-hmm,
even though I've been teaching for over 20 years, to try and just have a decent income with agencies.
mm,
I felt the need to get a degree.
yeah.
Um, that came with other issues because really what happened is that I was also telling Sweyn that there's another secondary qualification on top of that, which is subject specific, which is a bit of a problem for me. But yeah, so other than that, I have been very low lying with my work. I've just started again. I've um, I've just recently started a project with a place called Morden College, which is a very
Oh,
interesting place in Southeast London for older people who have it's I'll tell the story quickly to the history of Morden College. It's founded by a very rich merchant called Thomas Morden, who had put all his money into a large amount of stock that was coming from, I think, the West Indies or the East Indies, and it was reputed lost in a storm. He then became, he effectively had put everything in there and he was bereft. He had nothing. This, 3 days later, he the ships turn up. So what happened
oh,
is he took it as a real gift and decided to share the love, as it were. And he decided to set up a fund for people who worked in civil society, you know, and also had decent jobs, but then fell on hard times.
Mm,
So the place is amazing. There's some amazing libraries. They have multiple venues across Southeast London, and they have a and they've I've started working with them to deliver sort of drop-in sessions
mm,
for their tenants,
mm-hmm.
because they're all really interesting people. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah,
Wow.
and
Okay.
they're very interesting. So yeah, and they've got a beautiful new building as well, where which is yeah. So it's a really interesting place. It also has they have their own bus, their own little mini bus that they go shopping with. So I'm hoping to do some good things with them
Mm,
in the near future. I've also started, I've actually been, as a strange twist of fate, I'm now also delivering, because the way I need to do a portfolio within the course, I'm now delivering a course in the community centre that I've been working at for 5 years. So here I am doing the thing that I've been doing, but now as part of my degree.
but this time you're
And
taking notes and describing it, I dare say.
I'm sorry.
This time you're taking notes and describing it as part
Well,
of
I
your
have to
degree.
make a reflection document.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I have
yeah,
to make a reflection
yeah.
document, and yeah, I have to be observed,
I
which
think
is interesting.
one of the great steps forward in teacher training in the last kind of since I've been aware of what teacher training is, which is probably about 30 years, is this focus on reflection and thinking about what you're doing in a kind of meaningful and reflective way. And I think
Mm.
Jenny found that quite a surprise and quite a challenge when my partner Jenny, when she trained to
Oh,
be a teacher.
Mm.
But once she got the hang of it, it just more or less transformed a lot of the things she did in other areas of her life as well. Because
Right.
I found that when
yeah,
I
Mm.
started teaching back in 2000,
yeah,
um, I had the most amazing teacher who pushed the idea of writing a journal as part of the course
yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
Mm.
about how you got on with the course,
yeah,
and it completely changed me.
yeah.
How I thought about things and as you build it into your workflow, um, it becomes second nature almost
Hmm.
over
Mhm.
time.
Mm.
Yeah,
Interestingly, now as part of the degree, there's different types of reflection as well as different types of things. Learning a lot more about learning theory, teaching
yeah,
theory.
yeah.
Mm.
My favorite is the psychopath
Oh,
approach.
Oh,
steady, steady.
No, no, it's
We
are you
don't
fine.
ready
want
for this?
headlines.
No, it's absolutely fine.
Southeast
Basically,
London trainee teacher goes on
no, you
rampage.
actually,
No?
it's a premise that you go into the classroom with. You go into the classroom thinking that everyone in the classroom is a psychopath, including yourself.
Mm,
And it's how you approach that scenario.
wow.
Uh, I know it's quite wild. It blew me away. I find it quite, yeah, exactly. I giggle too when I think
Oh,
about
that's
it.
great. I love that idea. I'm going to try that one out on Jenny and see what she
Yeah, it's
says.
really interesting. I mean,
She's safely
psychopaths
retired
don't
from
have to
teaching
be.
now, so
I'm sorry.
she's safely retired from teaching now, so she can just chortle about it like we are.
Yeah. So I'm still looking to try and do some new different things. I've been thinking about trying to open up my work a little bit more. I'm moving toward. I'm actually waiting on some results from the co-op. They're hoping that I've put forward a project to do some work in sheltered accommodation.
Great.
They I always feel that they need a little bit more love, those places,
Mm.
Yeah,
because
Yeah.
they
yeah,
always seem to be forgotten about in the scheme of
absolutely.
things.
Yeah. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I agree.
So yeah, I'm hoping that something comes along there.
Mm.
And yeah, I mean, I think that's it at the presently. I've been. Oh yes, there is a thing that's very prescient at the moment that I'm facing about the shift that Microsoft have made of stopping Windows 10 support,
Right.
and I'm
Yes,
starting to get a lot of private individuals coming to me talking
yes.
about this. Um, I'm actually going to see a client this afternoon about this.
Okay.
I've already given them Linux. It
Mm-hmm.
upset them
Oh,
because you don't get it's the Google Photos, the Google Drive stuff syncing to you. There is facilities, but it's not great. So I'm looking at Chromebooks as being a good secondary way
Right.
of Chrome Flex and installing that.
okay.
This Windows 10 to Windows 11 issue is something that we need to come back to in a bit more detail, I think. I was hoping to have looked into it for this program, but I haven't done so.
Mm.
Because every time you look at the situation, Microsoft has changed the rules, and it's very
Yeah.
confusing. There's also been a change in Microsoft licensing generally for charities,
Yeah.
which has hit a couple of organizations that I've been involved with.
Really?
Major problems because you can still find ways around it, but it's been just another thing to think about and another thing to kind of
Yeah,
do.
because they withdraw
They
the free
withdrew
licenses or something?
the free licenses for the
Mm.
desktop apps. So
Yeah.
your free license now only covers your use of the online apps
Mm.
of
Mm.
Microsoft 365. That's my understanding of it. That's a very short version. There'll be details on complexity that I'm not covering in that statement. But yes, it threw the one organization I'm involved in into a bit of chaos for a day or two.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm.
There's been a bit of a talk about in just recently at the government level, I understand they were trying to reevaluate the use of Microsoft because I think there's a few European countries now, and cities are moving towards more open source
Mm,
based systems because the amount of money they chuck at
mm,
Microsoft.
Yeah.
mm.
With the Windows 11 debacle, they
Yeah,
keep on
yeah, I know.
closing loopholes that enables Windows 10 machine to run them as well. They
Yeah,
keep on,
yeah,
they're actively doing this.
Mm.
yeah.
The latest one I've heard is also to stop users creating a local account. That is to say, yeah, that's crazy. But
Ah,
basically, if anyone doesn't want to have a Microsoft account and just set up the machine on their computer, then they're stopping that facility in
oh,
Windows 11.
so you have to
Have,
be associated with a Microsoft account
you
online.
have to be. I mean, you can still install it with the account and then
Mm.
remove the account
Yeah,
afterwards.
yeah,
But
yeah.
but the point being is that you're now being forced. I think this is
Mm,
one of the gotchas of getting something for free again.
mm, mm-hmm,
No such thing,
mm-hmm,
is there?
mm-hmm,
Yeah, I
No,
mean,
absolutely.
there's no such thing.
I had a Microsoft Office 365 account at my previous job, and now when I open and the whatever license is expired now, whenever I open up Word or whatever, or, if I can recognize the icons because they've changed the icons again. Oh, honestly, somebody at Microsoft has just been let
Yeah,
loose with the crayons, and
I
it's not
know.
good.
Happens every 3 or 4 years. It's
Yeah,
terrible.
well, more often it seems
More
now.
often, probably. Yeah.
So when I open it up, they kind of say either, sign up to a new account, pay up for something else, or have kind of minimal Microsoft on the web. And it's like, well, I don't, okay, I know a bit and I can make an
Mm,
informed judgment, but there's so many people out there, as we
I
know,
know.
who won't
I
be
know.
able to do that.
I know.
And suddenly they're digitally excluded because they're not working for a certain
Mm,
organization anymore.
mm.
So,
Yeah,
Paul, you're planning to kind of promote Chromebooks as an option for
I
some
am,
people? Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I'd like to install Linux, to be
Mm,
honest, for more a full fat approach. You can on Chromebooks, you can actually install a little Linux partition and run some apps, but it's only with Intel processors, if I recall. Um, but yeah, I'm looking at promoting that, but there's some real I've been the algorithm's been on my side with YouTube lately. Loads of stuff out there that
yes,
really good for people just starting out in it.
okay.
yes.
I've been
You might almost imagine that Google is a competitor of Microsoft, mightn't you? That
Surely
owns
not.
YouTube. Google that owns YouTube.
well, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
any links you can share with us that you think might be useful to people,
Yeah.
we'd really appreciate that. Um, it's
Will do.
yeah, it's yeah, so many things happening, and the thing is, it comes back to the confidence. Three of us are having this conversation here as if we all knew everything there is to know, and we don't, but we have the confidence that we know we can find out
Yeah.
stuff, you
Well,
know?
I've actually lost confidence in my ability to find out how Microsoft Windows 10 upgrade works because I thought a few weeks, well, 3 or 4 months ago, I thought I understood what was going to happen. But then when it did happen, it seems to be all different from what it was 3 or 4 months ago. And not all in a bad way, um, particularly if you haven't been encouraged to upgrade your laptop to one that will one that will run Windows
Windows
11.
11, yeah,
So if you haven't done that, some good news in there somewhere, but it's such a difficult situation to get my head around that I'm not actually confident enough to say what the good news is because I don't know who exactly qualifies and how they qualify or what because I've not had a time to spend the hour or so it'll no doubt
yeah,
need trawling through
yeah.
Microsoft impenetrable help
Oh,
pages
and we
to
don't have
find out the answer.
single source of information or knowledge about
But
that because,
the
like, we
short
try
version
to,
is I expected to have to pay £30 for another year of Windows 10 on one of my laptops.
yeah,
Mm.
I use two laptops mainly. This one that I'm talking to you through today is a Windows 11 laptop, and that's fine. But my secondary, the one I use most of the time, in fact, and carry around with me, is a Windows 10 laptop that can't be upgraded to Windows 11. It's an old kind of Dell Inspiron or something. And I was all prepared to actually just pay £30 to buy myself another year of Windows 10 on that. That was fine to my mind, and I'll spend a year then investigating what new laptop to buy. But when I came to actually do it, it was free. And I've got no idea really why. Except that when I mentioned this to some other people who don't, they say, "Oh yeah, that's because blah 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 blah," and then they say an incomprehensible lot of gibberish, even to me. Even I say even to me. Ah.
Mm.
Um, and it's something to do with either having an account, once again, having an account in OneDrive or the online Microsoft environment, or saving some of your details there or something. Well, I've done that for a long time. So
Mm.
my account would probably just say, "Oh yes, he's done that. Here's
Mm.
another year of Windows 10."
Mm.
But anyway,
Yeah. Yeah.
charity's got it free as well for a year, so that was good.
Okay. That's good. So
Yeah.
Paul, like when you're talking to people and giving them advice, um, what where are you directing people to get advice? Besides yourself, where are you directing people to get advice and guidance from and to build up their digital confidence?
Sorry, I had a phone call come in all of a sudden, and it completely threw me. And then the mic died as well. So
Oh no!
sorry, Pauline.
Such
Juggling,
excitement.
juggling.
Yeah.
But
Good,
What
good.
was the question again,
I
please?
was, I was, we were asking about where to send people, where we can send people for advice and guidance when they're not talking to you. What other
Hmm.
sources can they use to check things out? Have you got old faithfuls that you kind of recommend?
In terms of, are we talking about in-person support or online support? I think
Well,
that's really the
either
difference.
actually, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's really tough. What tends to be a sort of a reflex is I try to see what people want and then I sort of point them
yeah,
online if
yeah,
possible.
yeah.
What tends to happen nowadays, I'm going to digress a little bit here because there's a point to this. What I find that people more now, my landlord, he's extremely phobic about using a computer,
all
but it's
right.
taken me 3 years for him to get to use a phone. And I think this is a valid point. A lot of people can use a phone a lot more easier than a computer in
Yeah.
general. So I try to point people to online resources if they can do something. If they don't have any recourse to online services, it's really tough to offer
Mm,
them
Hmm.
to say where to go. I mean, there's our good friend and associate Casper over in Crystal Palace. He's gone great guns. I went to one of his meetups to celebrate his volunteers recently. He had 32 volunteers now
Wow.
excellent.
and doing some great projects
Mm,
in Croydon.
yeah.
Really, really good news. He's just going, from strength to strength with
Mm,
it, and he's even got a volunteer coordinator now working with him.
great.
So I mean, I think that's Clear Community Web.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And obviously in Lewisham as well. There's Damien and Cat Bites.
Mm-hmm.
In Greenwich at the moment, there is something going on with the council, but I've tried to engage with them. Um, they have a digital inclusion team all of a sudden,
Mm-hmm.
but
Oh,
I don't know if you can tell, but I'm a little bit confused about what they're trying to do. There was some funding they were trying to do, and then they didn't make it very clear what they were trying to do.
Mm,
I just said, well, I'm here if you need me.
yeah.
So
Camden's got a team as well because I met them last year sometime, but I don't know. Again, it's not clear. There doesn't seem to be one standard for to give people the resources that they need. They
no.
need a Paul. They need a Paul and a Pauline and a Sweyn in every
Oh,
borough,
yes.
in every ward, in every.
God help them.
Well, I think Manchester actually have that model.
Okay.
I went to this was a couple of years ago now, but I went to uh, there's a what was it? It was a innovations meetup or something, an
Mm,
ongoing online thing they have. And Manchester have a very interesting model where it's consistent across the whole of Manchester, the whole of Greater Manchester. And they try to have a distinct approach across everywhere. I
mm,
mean, this is the model that was originally touted when I worked with Greenwich Council,
mm,
that every centre had the same kit, the
Yeah.
team all had the same,
Yeah.
the same routine. We had the same reporting mechanisms, everything, and that worked. My boss got kudos for it. But what happened is now here we are 20 odd years later or 15 years later, and the council doing it all over again
mm.
Starting from
without
scratch, not remembering what they did before, not
not
remembering any of
Yeah,
the
remembering
lessons
any of
from
it. It
we
was
yeah.
just
did or others did. Yes.
yeah,
Councils are
nostalgic
terrible for
memory.
that.
Mm,
Councils are
mm.
terrible for that.
I think there's another thing that goes on with that. Partly, it's weird because Labour councils in this part of London, southeast, don't go away. The
They
people
just
do, but they
Yeah.
don't go away. So what really makes me wonder what's underneath all of that.
Mm.
Effectively, there should be a sort of an ongoing bigger thing going on rather than this
you mean it's
short-termism.
the same party in power forever, basically? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Just different people,
yeah.
but the
Just different
policies
council,
don't seem
different
to
councillors,
stick.
different
Yeah.
officials. Yeah,
No,
Yeah.
yeah. And the
yeah,
politics are therefore internal and not externally
yeah,
projected.
and impenetrable to
Yeah.
outsiders.
Yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
I had high hopes of the DSIT, Department of Science and Information Technology, and their DIAC committee that they've appointed. They seem to have lots of interesting people. And Ashley Vale's been appointed to it. So there's lots of good people speaking to government now. But you and I, the three of us aren't, and like we're all on the front line. Well, I was on the front line. You are on the front line, Paul. I feel like sometimes they're not talking to the right people, or the people who really understand what it's like for the least connected people.
I think
Um,
there's a big issue in my mind, which has only really crystallized when I read a few things over the summer, actually, between focus by funders on innovating and doing shiny new things in shiny new ways, and the therefore the difficulty to get funding to do something that is just the same and definitely works as has been done possibly for 20
yeah,
years.
yeah,
Um, a lot of the funding seems to be based on the notion that you have to in some way innovate what you're doing,
yeah,
when actually the funding that's been missing ever since the time you're talking about, Paul, really has been the funding to look at what works, standardize things, and roll it out at scale.
yeah.
Um, Obviously, you need innovation. As soon as you start saying this, people say, "Oh, of course we need innovation. I mean, it hasn't worked for 20 years, so we need to do it in new ways." You think, well, some things have worked actually and have died not because they didn't work, but because their funding stopped and nobody saw the value of them. So at least I would like the 80-20 thing to apply. Let's apply 80% of the funding to things that have worked
Mm,
or have track record,
yeah,
and let's use 20% or less of the funding nowadays in terms of shiny new VR headsets and stuff that are
Mm.
great for things and have their niche and all that stuff, but are never going to be the mainstream of what people are actually doing in their
no,
day-to-day lives.
no. So,
You
Paul, I know you're
just
going to have to go soon. What are your
I've got
kind
I've got
of?
something else to
Ranting.
share.
Oh, okay, great.
I've
Tell
just
us.
remembered. I am going to go in a minute or three,
Mm,
but I did want to share this before I left.
Mm,
I went. I was with the client, but I listened in on a Digital Poverty Alliance meetup
mm.
recently, which was about the conversion of phone lines. This is big
yes.
stuff.
I
Yeah.
was at that
Um,
too.
BT. Yeah. Yeah.
well, I
I
wondered
was
if you
at
were going
that
to say
too.
that,
Yeah,
Swan.
or
I
or a
was
similar one if it
wondering.
I've
wasn't that
done a
one.
few of those.
Excellent.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I wasn't impressed because it does feel like it was just political posturing at the top saying, well, we'll do this and we'll do that. But there was no real action plan underneath it all about you're going to be doing, there was no remediation for people with telecare that I could hear in any conversation. They kept on talking around it and saying, well, we're going to do this and we're going to get feedback. And no, feedback
Yeah,
means
I
nothing if
agree.
you can't offer an action.
Mm,
I agree.
yeah. Yeah.
And I sat there thinking, wow, this is all good stuff. It was all good stuff. Not
Mm,
There was a guy, quite a senior guy from BT, the
that's
consumer
right.
division of BT. There was also quite a senior woman from the RNID, the Royal National Institute for the Deaf, and they explained quite well what their approaches were and what was available. This is the kind of session that ought to have happened 4 years ago when they first announced the date as the end of 2025 instead of the end of 2027 or whatever
Mm,
it is now. And it's another example, I think, of the people now involved not remembering what was happening even only 4 years ago, because the first attempt to do all of this, especially in with regard to telecare, were very nearly disastrous and exposed an awful lot of people to extra risk they didn't have to have.
mm,
And I didn't think that the session, I wasn't quite sure who the session was aimed at. I think, to be fair to them, they were thinking it was aimed at people who were involved in organizations that know that their users have something to do, and was to provide a few links and a few contacts for them to find out the sort of detailed information that they would then need. It certainly didn't quite get there, I didn't think.
It didn't gel for me.
It was just a little bit superficial. Didn't really think that. I mean, it's great to hear from the RNID, but they're literally one interest group among probably 2 or 3 dozen interest groups. There was no particular recognition of that. The BT guy was, he was more or less just reading out from the BT
Script.
website, which tells you what to do to get a new line.
I know.
So,
but then again, having said that, I did actually do some work within the council before I left, and I left 2 years ago now. The transition to digital specifically for telecare, and actually, I think most of that work has now been done. I think most telecare providers are certainly providing digital devices for their new ones, and will be most of the way through their replacement program for legacy analog devices. Not to say that there's not a lot of work, a lot of issues, and there'll be a lot of problems, I'm sure, as that all goes through. But I think that Ofcom were the ones who were missing from that session, actually, because it's their rules and their approach and their strategy that the companies are having to implement. And as a result of them finally taking a lead about 2 years, maybe 2.5 years ago, they did manage to get all the telecoms providers and all the telecare service providers, all the ISPs, phone companies, and also all the telecare providers actually in rooms together, and started knocking their heads together to actually solve the issues and make a roadmap. And it was the outcome of that process that delayed the whole replacement by 2 years, because they suddenly realized it wasn't as simple as they'd assumed it was. There's a lot more work to do, a lot more cost to all sorts of public and private bodies, and then they needed more time. And this is now us kind of well into the second half of that extra time. And therefore, one explanation for the lack of information about telecare and so on in that session is they might have decided actually that is pretty much a solved problem, even though not all the individual problems will have been solved yet, but all telecare providers will now know what they're doing and have their projects well underway by now.
Well, I know that a lot of telecare companies are effectively hived off from councils to they are around here anyway. I'm aware of that. And one thing that I find very interesting, and it's sort of a side issue, that's a relevant issue around rural access. Still, we still don't have coverage, and yet there's all of this shift to digital, when really I would have thought that the answer should have been resolved before we go to this.
If you look into how the telecare side has been done, every opportunity for ensuring the maximum possible coverage has been taken in those projects, to the point where the devices that are provided, the service that's provided can be provided over 2G phone signals. It doesn't rely on anything faster than that. The devices that are provided can link to any network to provide the service, which, when you actually look at the map, when you look at a map of one company's coverage, it can look quite depressing. But when you look at a map of where there is coverage from one or more companies at 2G, that is now a pretty, I'm talking from a place where there are exceptions and where there are not spots, but there's also plans for that within the telecare providers. So I think some of the fears that were absolutely right to have 4 years ago, even 3 years ago, which they weren't, they were just glibly assuming that all these problems would be sorted. The work has actually been done in the last couple of years, I think.
I think we need more. We need to get somebody on the show, actually, Paul, to talk about this. Have you got any suggestions for people? I'd be very happy to approach them, because you're going to be meeting people on the ground, and I met them when I was in my previous role, who feel that this is going to affect them, whether it is or not. Come back to the confidence bit. They feel they're going to be affected.
Yes.
So they're going to be less able to cope with it than
Yes.
the rest of us maybe. So Paul, have you
No.
got any suggestions, or can you kind of keep an eye out for us for somebody?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I can have a think. I mean, maybe Elizabeth from the DPA might be
Yeah.
a good person, but
Mm.
I
I
don't
don't
think she's
know.
I don't think she's likely to have the detail that we're talking about here.
No,
Yeah, I think
I
we
She'll
need
think
be
you're
somebody
aware
right.
of what the
from
issues are, but I don't think
BT
she'll
or a
have the.
telecare company or a
Yeah.
advocacy
I have
I think that's
organization like
more
Silverline maybe.
appropriate.
Yeah. Yeah.
in
Yeah,
Scotland, the whole thing was led at kind of what you would call in England and Wales regional level, what we would call national level.
Mm.
Um, for Scotland as a whole, all the 32 councils collaborated through the Digital Office for Local Government. I might be able to get somebody from there or
Mm.
from one of their consultants on
Yeah.
to talk about this
This
sort of
may
thing.
take
maybe
more
more
than
appropriate.
one discussion in the
Yeah.
Yeah,
show.
I
Yeah.
think it would probably take, and it would be good to, it would be good also to have somebody who was involved in the actual, and this is one of the strengths of what happened in Scotland is that they really did involve literally the people who were going around installing the units in the
Yeah.
plans, as
Yeah.
well
I
as
think that's
some
needed.
clients as well. Although that was obviously difficult because of,
Mm.
you know, access and accessibility issues. But
Yeah.
yeah, we should all of us think of somebody
Mm.
who can explain this
Yeah,
Yeah.
further.
that's a thought. I'm going to leave on that thought.
Yeah. Thanks,
It's lovely to
Paul.
see you, Paul.
Always
Come back
great to
soon.
see you. Yes,
Likewise,
please keep in
really great to
touch.
see you both. And
Great to hear from you.
yeah, I'll look forward to seeing you again sometime soon.
Indeed.
Thanks, Paul.
Bye bye then.
All
All
the
the
best.
best. Bye bye.
Ah. Oh, I gotta leave.
And we will share Paul's connection detail, LinkedIn contact on our show
Yes.
notes.
In fact, it's already there. I've got a new
Okay,
policy
brilliant.
about updating the show notes as
As
I
we
go as
go.
we go
Oh,
through, which might come back to bite me because I might get confused. But let's see how it works.
yeah. Okay, okay. So yeah, very, very topical discussion there. And yes, we would, if anybody listening has a suggestion for somebody who can come along and talk about that, whether they're personally affected or have professional interest in it, we'd love to hear from them. In my previous job, I did have contact with colleagues at BT, but a bit like what was said just now, they have a script to work to, and they were kind of reporting
Yeah.
on the script, and I'm not sure they were completely au fait with the ins and outs
The
of it.
really interesting progress was made when people like, and it wasn't just the Scottish councils, but people like the group of Scottish councils, and importantly, their highly expert consultants.
Mm,
Once they started making a list of things that were the problems and started banging Ofcom head against the wall. No, that would be too violent, but you know what I mean. But really insisting that Ofcom take them seriously. That's when
yeah,
some of the issues were actually recognised and addressed, and that's when the timescale for the whole project was pushed out
yeah,
for at least 2 years, as
yeah,
everyone always said, including myself, that it would have to be.
yeah. I mean, I just know that uh, some people will hear about this project and think they will blame something else that goes wrong on on the project, whether or not it's linked to it, as I
Oh, for
had an
sure.
experience of in my
Yeah,
previous role. And just get confidence, back to
yeah,
confidence. When people need to be
yeah. I
asked
can't log into
questions
my
and get
bank. It
their
must be because I've got
yeah,
a
exactly,
digital
exactly,
telephone line now.
exactly. Every time, every time.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, well, we'll keep an eye on that one, and we'll as I say, we'll look for somebody to come and talk to us about
In fact,
what's
just
happening.
last thing on that, as far as telecare is concerned, the whole mobile phone signal coverage thing is and was important, and to my mind has been not completely solved, but a lot more thought and care has gone into that than might have.
Mm,
The other outstanding problem with digital phone lines, of course, is that they rely on a power supply at
yeah,
the person's house or
yeah,
premises, and therefore, for some people, they need to make sure that they have a backup power supply in case of power cuts, and that's
yes.
still a big issue. And
Absolutely.
I'm
And
not
they
quite
do supply a power pack apparently,
they do, but it
BT,
only
but it
lasts a
only
couple of
lasts for
hours.
4 hours. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So,
and for
not
some
brilliant.
that will be too risky.
Yeah.
But there's always ways to mitigate risks which don't
Mm,
address them head on, though.
mm,
In some cases, and in some cases, making sure that you have a charged up mobile phone as well as your landline
mm.
could lessen the impact of a power cut. But
Yeah, it's
again,
just
it's more complexity, it's more confidence
yeah,
issues,
exactly.
it's
And I'll
more
talk about the data in the next
yeah.
piece. But yeah, we're on. We kind of let's try and get on it and kind of bring more people, bring more light
Yeah.
on the subject. So I talked earlier about that we had an extended summer break, and so one of the things that I did in my summer holidays, the break, although this was October, was during Birmingham Tech Week, I was asked to join a panel on a day called Frontiers Day, organised by Birmingham Open Media, BOM Media in Birmingham. And I was delighted to be part of a panel, and it was a panel called Future Places, brackets World Building, and the blurb says, with the blur between virtual and real world building, how do we design spaces for future generations to play and connect? How is a city's identity shaped by its culture? And how does content such as video games contribute to a city's evolving narrative? And the speakers on the panel, the moderator was Michaela Sinead from Create Central. She's an executive board member there. Melody Leung from Zaha Hadid Architects in London, she's director. Amara Spence, the founder and CEO of Hood Futures Studio, who I know from my time at Impact Hub Birmingham and since with the Yard and Civic Square, and myself, billed as a journalist and open data advocate. And it was great to be talking with friends. It felt like about all of this. We actually met the night before, which was really nice to be together. So they were talking about VR and architecture. And then I was bringing in the kind of, well, let's not forget about people who aren't as connected as they would have experience
There
of.
you are.
Yeah, there I am.
You're a broker apparently as well.
I what? A broker,
You're a
yeah.
broker as well.
That too, yeah. So I referred in my remarks on the panel to the data which we got from Digital Poverty Alliance, actually, which is our as Paul referred to earlier, they wrote a piece recently about, in connection with the digital ID that the government is planning to introduce, which we will talk about in future shows as well. But just to remind people, I think it's handy. We often talk about the numbers here on the show, and this was just a handy kind of reminder of um, the exclusion side of the piece, which is that almost 4.5 million adults in the UK don't own a smartphone. So, like, even you, when you were talking about smartphones earlier, Swain, not everybody has them, and more than a quarter of those people are over 75. So, they'll be the most vulnerable people, and they're the people who are least um most affected and least likely to have resources to kind of mitigate that. So we need to be aware of that. Oh yeah, that's that article online on screen now. Almost 1.7 million households are still offline. So again, would be affected by this digital switchover, and 11 million adults lack the digital skills necessary to complete basic online tasks. So, we have to keep reminding ourselves that the people who might be left out, the people on the margins, the people who most need the help, are least likely to
I
get it in some
completely agree.
cases.
And I think
So.
some of the talk about this new digital ID scheme, I mean, well, uh, it's kind of been, as in my mind, it's been kind of almost kind of misleading, willfully misleading, by
Mhm.
saying that you won't need it unless you change jobs, so only
Yeah,
working people will need it and all this.
yeah.
That's not how it's going to end up
No.
being at all. And nobody can say those things at this stage.
Mm.
I do wonder whether it's going to get any further than Tony Blair's efforts to do this.
Well, I was gonna if Paul wasn't able to join us today, I was gonna have a
Mm.
video
Mm.
that of a piece by that features Guy Marcus from Ada Lovelace Institute and Jenny Tennyson from Connected by Data, who talked with the government recently about digital ID, and I think
Yeah.
maybe we'll revisit that next week, because I
Yeah.
think I
That'd
think
be
it is
good.
certainly worth kind of
Yeah.
shining a light on it. Yeah, and I ran a session on it at Open Data Camp 10 at the end of
Which
September
I
in
missed, even though it was in
Edinburgh.
Edinburgh.
I
I'm so
know, I
upset.
know.
I'm still
Shame,
upset.
shame. That was something else I did in the summer holidays. But yeah, yeah, that was really useful. So I think yeah, let's have a conversation about that as well, and just keep that on the
Hmm.
agenda. Okay, the next story is one that you've picked up or revisited.
Although the next thing
Wired
is,
Connections.
well, I was going to do what I did in my summer holidays as well.
Yeah. Oh, sure, sure.
Is that
Sorry.
which that's okay. Except, of course, I cannot now find my notes of what I wrote on this. which is absolute. Oh, what about behind Luton? No, it's not behind Lewisham County Council. It's there. It is. Yeah. Well, it was 3 months, and when I realised that, I was quite astonished because it's gone
Mm,
very quickly,
yeah.
in some ways. Uh, Made a few changes since then. Although I'm still in Orkney, I decided to suspend my studies on my
Ah,
MSc course
okay.
for various reasons, but basically because it was. I'm not convinced that academic study is really what I need to be doing at the moment. So I decided to stop, which is fine. So I've done a part of the course. I can always go back to it if I want to.
Hmm.
And the bits of the course that I really wanted to do and the people I wanted to meet and get involved with, I managed to do that. So that was quite good. I don't
Can you say what
really
the
need.
course was again
Yes,
for people who might not?
I
Yeah,
can. It is at Heriot Watt, and it is called the MSc in Renewable and Sustainable Energy Transition. There you go. That's
very
a
topical.
photo
Very
of
topical.
Cliff
Yeah.
in Orkney. You can study it either in person in Orkney or fully online through Harriet Watt's online student.
That
Uh,
picture looks like the Cliffs of Moher, is it?
it, I know what you mean. No, that's a cliff somewhere in Orkney. I'm not sure
Okay.
where.
Yeah,
I
lovely.
think it's. I'm not. I think it's Yesnaby, but I'm not
Mm,
sure.
mm, mm.
So yes, so that's what the first thing
Yeah.
I did. Also, a little bit of family digital news. My sister and my brother and I have been focused very sharply on finally clearing out the house that my late parents lived in until 2018, which has been standing empty since,
Hmm.
but full of not empty, full of things.
Hmm.
And as part of that, I found myself sharing some things that I found among my mother's stuff
Mm.
online and on Facebook, and I found myself tagging on first of all my brother and my sister, then all my first cousins, then all my second cousins, then the odd other they're not odd, the other random
Yes.
relatives that I'm aware of. And I suddenly realized that the way to do this isn't to tag all these people on every single Facebook post. It's to create a family private family Facebook group to post in, or even just to post links to my public posts in, and it saves
Hmm.
me
Yeah.
all the linking. So that's been, I mean, this is not rocket science, is it? I mean, this is the thing that a
Oh,
huge,
you're going to share it. Okay.
well, I'll share one of the posts.
Yeah.
So the guy who's ties all this together is my great grandfather James Thompson from
Hmm.
Orkney. 1874 to 1940. You got to give his dates because there's about 5 or 6 James Thompsons
Okay.
with all with no middle names, so you have to work out which one you're talking about.
Hmm.
And this is his son, my grandfather's wartime medals that I
Wow.
knew I had, but I
Yeah.
came across. So I posted them with a bit of a description
Oh, lovely.
and his release
Oh,
book from
wow.
when he was
Yes.
a soldier, saying things like his military conduct apparently was exemplary, and the testimonial he got from his commanding officer was a quiet but very keen, bearing in mind this was in 1946, a
Mm.
quiet but very keen and willing man who always did efficiently and conscientiously, thoroughly reliable, honest, and of temperate habits. He is highly recommended for employment and will prove himself a valuable asset. So there
Sounds
we
like
go. So
you.
all my cousins and people
Bit like
like
you.
a bit like me. Oh, it's very funny. That's very funny. I'm not sure I would get that sort of testimonial from all of my previous workplaces. Um, yeah, so that's what a little bit I did, and also of course Orkney being Orkney, there's been festivals. There was the Science Festival,
Hmm.
87 events for 7 days this past year.
Mm.
Um, Mainly talks, but also workshops and all
Mm.
sorts of things. Concert,
Brilliant.
87 events over 7 days. Did I mention there was also a family day with dozens of activities for kids and also a full
No.
schools program for the whole week?
Oh,
It's an
my
enormous
goodness.
undertaking, the Science Festival. And also a much smaller festival, the Orkney Storytelling Festival, just finished this last week, and it had lots of lovely events. I should have said about the Science Festival, lots of the events appear on the YouTube channel
Mm.
gradually through the year as they're edited and uploaded. So you'll find uh, in, lots of talks about all sorts of things on the Science Festival's YouTube page, which will be in the description of this video on.
Okay, great.
And finally, Storytelling festival included a tour of the main Kirkwall graveyard by a very well-known storyteller, Fran Flett Hollinrake, including a story. Well, she's done this for a number of graveyards. They wander around the graveyard, they stop at gravestones and of people who've had interesting stories to tell about their life, and then they move on to the next one. It's quite a nice. Sounds a bit weird, but it actually works really well.
Mm.
And one of the people included this time was a cousin of my mother called Harry Reid, who was killed when his land.
I've lost your sound there, Sweyn.
Because I'm fiddling with my
Oh,
cable.
there you
How's
go.
that?
Yeah.
So Harry Reid was he was born in Canada because his parents, my granny's sister, emigrated to Canada in the 20s, but he came back. He's posted in the Canadian Air Force to Salford in 1941.
Mm-hmm.
And on a return journey back to base, his Lancaster bomber got lost, and they'd had some anti-aircraft damage. They hadn't been able to let their bombs off on their targets, or because of shipping in the English Channel. They finally worked out where they were, somewhere approaching Salford. They were aiming for Lincolnshire, so they were quite a long way off course. And they basically tried to land in a playing field, but clipped a house, and their bomber was crashed into the river in Salford, and apparently the explosion was enormous because it was a full load of bombs,
Oh, wow.
and they were all killed.
Oh.
And his body was returned to Orkney, and he's buried beside his grandparents.
Oh,
So
that's
that's
very
the kind of
sad.
story you can get on a
Mm,
graveyard tour. If you can get yourself
yeah.
on a graveyard tour anywhere, just do it, because it's bound to be fascinating. Sorry, I've rittered on for ages
No,
now.
no, that's fine.
Boomer
That's
on.
fine. I mean, I think it's interesting to hear about setting up a Facebook page for
Yeah,
realizing that instead of tagging everybody, you can just set up a private Facebook page.
yeah,
I did one for my family years ago, but nobody ever
yeah.
uses it except me. But at least maybe your family are more
Well,
um connected.
all the Canadian relatives that we know of have added people that they know of that
Great.
we didn't
Oh,
know of.
that's
So it
nice.
is
Oh,
actually
wow. Yeah.
it's actually worked quite well so far.
Yeah.
And
I
there's been
suppose
pictures of
you had a thing to focus on, which was
yes,
your
yes,
ancestor. Yeah.
and also they're doing things like sending pictures of their granddads who emigrated in the 20s,
Mm,
in ways that we won't
mm,
easily find out about,
yeah. Yeah.
things that they've done. And it's really striking to see some of the family resemblances between these people who really last saw each other in 1928 or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's quite
Wow.
good.
Great. We're kind of nearly at the end, aren't we?
Yes, I think we are. Are
We've
we
kind of.
doing
Do you want
another
to
one,
do you
or
want
are
to just
we
do the wild connection story just to round things off?
right? Which one's that?
The virtual office Orkney thing about Ethernet
Oh,
connections.
right. Oh, right. Okay. Yes, my sister. It's a declaration of interest because
Uh-huh.
she's available for hire as a virtual assistant. If you don't know what that is, go to her website. Uh, a Facebook memory came up over the last week or two, which was a thing that we found in 2020 during the Science Festival, was that if you're having a problem with video calls, this tip might just solve it for you.
Mm-hmm.
And the basic idea is, don't rely on Wi-Fi. Find yourself an Ethernet cable and plug it into your router.
Mm,
And that way you get the maximum um, speed out of your broadband connection, whereas Wi-Fi could well get confused or slow things down.
mm.
And so, as Freya says, the best option is to use an Ethernet cable if you possibly can. And that's as simple as that.
And she gives a picture as well, which is
Use a picture in case you didn't know what an
yes.
Ethernet cable looked like, which is perfectly reasonable. And that is, I can indeed say that that is pretty much exactly where you would want to plug
Yeah.
in those yellow
And the
ports.
cable has those uh connectors at each end
Yes,
to
they look like
yeah.
old-fashioned phone connectors, but they're slightly
Mm,
different.
yeah.
So
Great.
and maybe we should try and have a technical tip of the week.
Top tip. Yeah,
Mm,
certainly.
maybe
And
for
if
next
Freya
week.
ever wants to join us on the program again, she's more than welcome. Um, to
She's got lots of very good tips for her
yes,
clients, and
yeah,
lots of
absolutely.
them on page for
Yeah.
everyone to see.
Okay, well, I think we've relaunched season 6.
I think we have.
Relaunched Dr. Tech Show with season 6 with a bang. thanks again to Paul Clayton for joining us today.
Yes.
We will follow up on the telecare stuff with BT or with people who are affected by that transition, and see if we can get a guest or two on the show to talk about that. And anyone else who would like to come on and talk about digital inclusion and or online communications, I have a few people in the pipeline, but always happy to hear from more people. We hope you can join us again next week. And for now, thanks for joining us and have a good week. Take
Have a good
care.
week.
Bye bye.
Sorry, I got confused there because somehow it was showing me the output from about 5 minutes ago, and I was waiting. I usually wait for the
Mm.
slide to appear on the delayed YouTube, and it was
Mhm.
never appearing and never appearing. Then I realized, oh, that was us 5 minutes ago. Does that sometimes? That was good.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, well, that's good. Yeah, it was great that Paul was able to stay as long as he could,
Yeah,
and he's obviously frustrated by some things, but he's also persistent, so that's
yeah.
good. It needs that.
I think everybody who tries to do teaching in their uh, later life comes up against real issues with